Hello, and welcome to the Angus and Pete Show. Views and opinions are strictly those of the presenters and their guests and should not be taken as advice. Goodness knows, we're not qualified to advise you about anything. Side effects may include mild amusement and occasional enlightenment with feelings of embarrassment, apathy, disappointment, and pity.
Welcome to episode 7 of season 2. I'm Angus Pacey.
And I'm Pete Brown, and we are the Angus and Pete Show.
The place where you can listen to two guys chatting about that riveting world of customer engagement.
That's customer engagement, otherwise known as call centre, contact centre, customer service, customer experience, CX, or whatever else you are choosing to call it this week.
And if you want to know more about us, then just check us out on LinkedIn. So, Pete, have we got anything in the post bag this week?
Do you remember Alex? He was in the post bag, the first episode of this series, series 2. And he was the guy who came on and suggested that we made up our postbag correspondence and none of it was real or true. He got in touch to say he's actually listened now to Series 2, Episode 1, where we called him out. And he's conceded in his own way that he might have been wrong and we might not be making up postbag items after all. And it also shows that he's put a bit more effort into his listening recently and actually caught up with the current episode. So thanks for that, Alex.
It wasn't only Alex. We've had a good number of people that have reached out and said they've noticed that our Christmas break was slightly longer than most other people's.
Yes.
Are you guys planning to put out another episode or two? Yes, we are. We just did take a slightly longer break. We were doing some background research as well, but the wait is over. So here we are back and we've got another episode for you.
So what have we got on the show today, Angus?
This week, we're going to have a look at that topic of trends and predictions. And we're going to look at what people are saying about 26, 27, and also go slightly left field and look at some of the trends that people aren't thinking about.
All the headlines relating to CX and all of the reports that we looked at are all screaming AI, aren't they? It's all AI this, AI that. Now, I thought that AI stood for artificial intelligence. We've sort of got used to that, haven't we?
Yeah.
But I'm hearing that those two letters are starting to mean something else.
Okay. Give me your versions of these now.
Oh, I don't know. Agreements ignored, alliances imperiled, autocratic impulsiveness, agitation and instability, and my own personal favourite, amplified incoherence. Take your pick. They're all dangerous in the wrong hands. I just thought I'd share that with some of our listeners. And listeners, if you can think of other interesting meanings for those two letters, AI, don't hold back. Send it to the postbag.
You know what? We could do a whole episode just on this one in its own right.
I think
and it is relevant because it will bleed over into data sovereignty.
Yeah.
Macro politics and what customer requirements are in different areas. And also it's a threat potentially to the way we all do business today.
Yeah.
So I think let's park that one and we'll come back to it later in the series.
So back to this episode. AI, for the purposes of this episode, is artificial intelligence. Is it the entire story? It's not really, but it's definitely the fuel that's driving a lot of structural changes, particularly around how companies manage their relationships with customers. And our sources are overwhelmingly pointing to the fact that focusing on retaining existing clients and customer lifetime value, CLV, there you go, nice little acronym there, that's becoming far more of a strategic imperative than constant acquisition, a focus that's more about quality than quantity.
If you can increase the revenue from your existing customers, it's much easier than trying to find new ones. So it's bleedingly obvious why CX is such a big focus. Come back to the trends a bit. The core catalyst for transformation is artificial intelligence at the moment. But what is AI doing specifically for CX? Many people have got ideas and everybody's talking about generative AI, but in our context, what does it actually mean?
So looking at the sources we've read, the consensus is that AI is transitioning from being an interesting experiment to being a strategic, necessary investment. Executives are now dedicating funds specifically to AI initiatives, and it's all aimed at boosting customer experience as well as the efficiency and effectiveness of their own people. According to a KPMG study, 97% of business leaders are planning to invest in proper generative AI projects in the next 12 months. And improving CX, for a lot of them, is their top priority.
Okay, so what they're saying is that AI is moving past the pilot stage, lots of experiments, and they're starting to move into core production.
Yeah.
That's going to have impact. What did you read that kind of showed what the impact is on speed and quality of customer engagement and interaction?
Well, first off, yes, it's moving past the experimental stage. It's also moving past the optional stage for businesses.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're going to leave yourself seriously wanting if you don't get on top of this stuff, which means it's raising expectations across the board. It's raising expectations within the organization, within the business, and it's raising customer expectations. And with it, hyper-personalisation becomes a major expectation.
Yeah. Without being creepy.
Yeah. Hyper-personalisation isn't just about content, is it? It's about the way you do it, the speed you do it, the pace you do it. And like you say, without being creepy, it's got to be empathetic, it's got to be meaningful, but it's got to be personalised. That's what we want. So that's the first trend. Hyper-personalisation becomes a standard approach. How do you deliver it? You've got to be on your game. You've got to be delivering to those expectations in real time.
But there's a working assumption underneath this. One of the things that's going to be the big challenge for everybody, and I think everybody in this area has got to start paying a lot of attention to this, because ultimately it's garbage in, garbage out. So you got to look at what your data infrastructure is.
Yeah.
Because if you do not have a decent data lake, a body of data that is clean, that AI can work on, you've got a problem. And that means that this infrastructure is going to need a major overhaul to be able to support expectations of speed and customization and personalization.
You and I know from personal experience, as people that have worked extensively with organizations and also as consumers, that joined up data and integrated architectures are a pipe dream for many organizations.
Oh, yeah.
Which basically is our second trend. AI is now not an option, it's mandatory. Well, what goes with that is mandatory, end-to-end, omnichannel integration, where omnichannel isn't just about your communications channels, it's about your data channels, it's about everything that goes with that hyper-personalization. You can't hyper-personalize if you can't get your shit together.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means that customers that are frequently pinging between apps, websites, services, stores, even within the same transaction, you better be able to handle those things. You better be able to handle them seamlessly. You better be able to handle those experiences across every touch point. I'll tell you something that happened to me this morning. I've been getting paper bills from my energy provider. Even though I went paperless about 8 months ago, all of a sudden paper started to arrive again. So I went onto my app and it says, you can't ask us to go paperless here. You need to either chat to us or call us. So I go from the app onto the website and I start a chat. It asks me all of the security questions. I get a live person and the live person asks me all the questions again. And then finally says to me, oh, okay, you are actually paperless, but the other account holder, my wife, isn't. Can you ask her to call us on this number to ask?
Oh my God.
Bullshit. So OVO Energy, you should be ashamed of yourselves. That is not integrated omnichannel. That is just unforgivable. Stop it.
Was that triggered by the installation of a smart meter?
It was actually triggered by the fact that my wife tried to contact them one day. They said, you're not the account holder. We had to go around this GDPR bullshit loop. Now we're two account holders and their systems are so integrated they couldn't work out that the same household was paperless. So they're sending one person in the household paper bills and the other one digital bills. Just get your shit together. That is a classic example of where it all falls down.
So basically what we're talking about is technology, in theory, can handle speed and personalization.
Yeah.
But the whole foundation of loyalty and customer loyalty here is being challenged because the old transactional systems can't satisfy this level of digital intimacy, which that's what it is. You expect a level of digital intimacy because you've got all these channels at your fingertips.
Right. As consumers now, we are as focused on the emotional value as we are mechanics of the interaction. So our third trend is a real shift towards emotional and value-driven loyalty. It's as much about how you get what you want as getting what you want. The style of service, the way that you feel afterwards, it's those things.
What about ethics?
Yeah.
Because you see loads of brands talking about values now.
It's critical. Ethical consumerism is a thing. It's not a fringe idea anymore. 77% of consumers report that sustainability and traceability are somewhat or very influential in their brand loyalty and their buying decisions. So this is a little less about the technology, but customers are scrutinising the ethical practices of the businesses and the organisations that they do business with.
I think there's going to be another one that we could have added in here. Geopolitics are now going to start influencing this in a big way.
Yeah.
Which was not picked up by the analysts when we were looking at all these reports and all these articles.
Yeah, because ethics is not a county to the east of London.
No.
It is a massive subject. And when we talk about ethical consumerism, people are thinking about sweatshops and where the raw materials come from and all the rest of it. Well, actually, isn't it just as much about how the leader of a country behaves and whether he or she is an arsehole or not? I think that also has a place in the decision-making process around who you do business with.
But it's also, are the leaders of the organizations that you're dealing with, the leadership, are they pro or are they anti? What's their stance? So the stance of these companies is going to start becoming really, really important in 26, I think.
It is. Right. Let's resist the temptation to do that episode that we're going to do later and stick to the brief.
Okay, so let's look at the customer service side. AI is handling all the routine stuff, gives you all the answers to standard queries, improves the personalization. What happens to the traditional reactive contact center? What's going to change?
This is our fourth major trend. It's already started. There is a move in the contact center that sees the operational side of things evolve into a profit and insight center rather than just a transactional place.
This is an interesting one because historically, contact centers and call centers have always been a cost center and they had to justify themselves as a cost center. Now, this is changing quite radically because all that data is there and they've got all that information. It becomes an insight center that can help the rest of the business.
And that is a really important point because for a long time, contact centers were the voice of an organization. Well, now they're the eyes and ears and analysers for an organisation. Everything they know should be known by everybody. Every time a customer touches you, every time a customer hits you, every time a customer asks for paperless billing, OVO, everyone should know about it so that it's all joined up and everyone gets what they need. The business is more efficient and so is the customer. They're gold mines of voice of the customer data in real time. So really it's about working out how your newly integrated and joined up end-to-end processes reach internally as well as externally. And then you make sure that everyone's informed all the time, every time about what customers are doing, whether it's macro trends or whether it's individuals.
It's interesting, this one, because based on everything that we've just been talking about, there are more structural changes that are required to really enable this. If you look in the B2B world, the business-to-business world of software as a service, there is what is our fifth trend, the rise of real AI native companies. Tech companies that have got real AI native software stacks, tech stacks, that they take into market that enable this.
Perhaps this is the most urgent and important structural change that we're going to see happening. The old, can you imagine the old software as a service model? It seems like only yesterday, but the old SaaS native model was basically just taking what you already had, sticking it in the cloud, charging people slightly differently. And it was all about grow at all costs because you've got this incremental cost hanging out the back of your business. So you've got to keep growing at the front end. Now that playbook isn't working. It's broken. You know, between 2021 and 2025, the average growth rates for public software as a service companies dropped steeply. And the market's been growing, not because of them, but because of those AI native businesses.
Yeah, this is going to really drive a change into the industry because I think that requirement to focus on adoption is going to come to the fore because you can't just keep growing by adding new users. It's a limited environment. You know, costs are rising. So what do you think the AI native companies are doing differently to win against the old guys?
They're not just bolting AI onto broken processes. We've said it over and over again. Don't take your crap and AI enable it, because you just end up with faster, more efficient crap. You're not addressing the major issue. Now, actually, that applies to vendors, the purveyors and the builders of our CX technology, as well as it does to the users. So if you're an organization that's building AI directly into the core of what you do and re-architecting around it, then you are in the best position to realize the benefits of it, which are huge.
You need the economies of scale from an R&D perspective as well, so that you've got to be able to get it across, build it once, deploy it many times.
Right.
It now becomes really important from there.
So Angus, you remember this thing that we used to call the internet, right? Before it was subsumed by AI. Well, I remember when that came out, the retail insurance sector, car insurance and house insurance and whatnot, there was a whole model which was around brokers that you'd phone up or you'd walk into the shop, la, 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 la. And then the internet arrived. And once people realized that it was a little bit more than email and pornography, people started to use it in business. And the insurance sector was interesting because you had the existing incumbent businesses bolting the internet onto their processes. But then you had newbies that came along and said, we're not going to have that legacy. We're not going to worry about retail space. We're going to go digital first. We are going to design our business around an internet engagement. Well, the same applies here. The same applies here. Never mind about designing AI for your business. You need to be designing your business for AI.
You look at the world of mortgages and you talk about independent financial brokers, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers, those sorts of things. Now you go and get your mortgage online. And part of that process, they offer free financial advisor to come and have a look at everything that you're doing. Then they look at everything that they could possibly sell you at the same time. It's like insurance advice, motor vehicle finance, all these sorts of things. So it's all coming into one stack, and the tech vendors have got to think about the same thing. People do not want to go to multiple places to go and buy something. Buy it from one place. Okay, so we've looked at the 5 big trends that everybody's talking about. Those are the consensus trends. Let's take a look at the contradictory trends. And the first of those is the trust erosion risk. And I think this is big.
What it is a major risk arising from the rush to prioritize efficiency over empathy and emotional connection. I would suggest that you do it the other way around. Get your relationship parameters sorted out, and then you optimize what you know is working, as opposed to going for efficiency before you've got a model that actually works. So Forrester predicts that a third of companies will erode, diminish, lose customer trust through the premature deployment of frustrating AI self-service tools.
And I think if you look at the sort of general research and demographics, the millennials and all the younger ones after that, they vote with their feet very quickly.
Yeah.
They are not loyal customers.
So in all of that, the intent is to reduce costs. The outcome is to alienate customers.
And this is also complicated by the fact that consumers don't actually trust the underlying technology yet. They might use it and accept the usage of it, but whether they trust it or not is a different ballgame.
Yeah, here's another stat. In the US, only 28% of adults say that they trust the information provided by AI. And I think that's high, actually. Given what comes out of ChatGPT when you type in a prompt, and how quickly it loses its thread and how quickly it stops following your instructions, it's quite stunning. So I think you're too trusting US. You're trusting AI, whatever AI stands for, too much.
There was that example of Klarna, and I think this came out of consumers losing trust with them, where they famously replaced all their human agents with AI, or a good proportion of them, only to be forced to rehire them again when AI couldn't deliver on the complex stuff. And their brand took a lot of damage from that. Their brand promise was totally shot to pieces. The second outlier challenges the assumption that digital is paramount. This one you could call the decline of digital preference. Do you go back to talking to people? It's very interesting because one of my kids ordered a Christmas present online and it didn't arrive. Now, they ordered the Christmas present on about the 20th of December. So it didn't give themselves a huge amount of time for things to go wrong and then be able to save it. Long story short, Christmas present arrived on about the 6th of January, and then it was wrong. So very quick refund required. And what did the daughter do? Walked into a store and went hunting for a Christmas present, old school. Didn't go and look online again. Said, I'm going to go to the shop and I'm going to go and look for my replacement Christmas present, old school.
That demonstrates that your preference changes, and it changes rapidly when you've lost trust.
Yeah.
I'm not trusting this online stuff anymore. I need to go and eyeball somebody. And that is reinforced by findings from UK companies like Timpson. Do you know who Timpson is?
Yeah, very famous brand here in the UK.
This is an organisation that's been going for years, and in shopping malls and shopping centres around the country, you'll see a Timpson store, and you go there to have a new front door key cut or buy a key ring for your car, or they do shoe repairs and various bits and pieces, right? They've all but rejected new technology intervention in their business because they know what their value is. And their value is one-to-one human relationship. Even if it's just for the time you're in that store, they have people standing behind those counters who know exactly what to do. They're experts in their little bit of the world. And if you've got a problem with a key or a problem with your shoe, you know where to go. Find a Timpson's and they'll sort it out. You don't need AI. You just need the door to be open and a smiley face behind it. So AI is not for everyone.
No.
AI doesn't work in a lot of places. It gets in the way and it doesn't help at all. So be mindful of that too.
You've got to think about AI as augmenting humans within that environment, and it can't replace that empathy that humans give. So you've got to balance digital efficiency with human-centric design when it comes to customer experiences.
Right.
So let's look at the elephant in the room. Deepening frugality and recessionary spending. Put that in simple terms. People closing the purse strings, holding them tight because there is a lot of uncertainty.
The consumer outlook for 2026 is cautious, to say the least. If you look at the general consensus around numbers, global intent for reducing spending, it looks like about an 18% reduction in global consumer spending. And that's all about not just financial pressures. I think as the days go by, it's much more about what are we going to wake up to tomorrow?
Yeah. And if I don't know, am I going to go and spend on a big ticket item?
Yes, it leads to smarter consumption, more research, more information required before you make a buying decision. But it also means that priorities are changing all the time. So it becomes very difficult for businesses to predict what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, and how best to address their market.
And I think, the bottom line is the biggest single consequence for brands, price.
Yeah.
It's going to be that single most important factor causing consumers to switch providers across all sectors. I think everybody is now being very focused on where the money gets spent, which means that brands across the piece have to now focus on delivering exceptional and real value, or they're going to lose market share to cheaper competitors. And I think in our space, the vendors need to think really hard about that. Where do you add value? Where do you demonstrate the value? Because if you think about it, if I look at the contact center stacks from all the different vendors, they all pretty much do the same thing. So it now becomes a value focus.
Let's wrap up. Let's pick out 4 things that we can leave our listeners with.
4 core takeaways. First one, AI must be guided by trust and experience. You've got to focus on creating that intelligent experience. Have got to be designed to enhance customer outcomes. They've got to make those outcomes real. It's not just about cutting costs. And if you deploy this too quickly, self-service will erode customer trust and you will damage your brand and ultimately increase churn. Customers will leave.
The second takeaway is around loyalty. The future of loyalty is emotional and ethical. It's as much about the way you get served as what you get served. And those transactional programs alone are no longer sufficient. Lasting loyalty is going to depend on forging deep emotional connections and explicitly aligning your brand practices and brand values and ethical stance and the transparency that should be going with it with customer values.
Yeah. And the third one is structural. Your organization and your data have got to be structured. Data silos and organizational silos are no longer sustainable. because the one mirrors the other. So if you want to deliver sort of hyper-personalized and painless and easy experiences when you're jumping across channels, this requires companies to break down those internal departmental and data silos.
And finally, when it comes to AI, software as a service, whatever, the focus has changed. And gone are the days when you're designing AI and technology for your business. You need to be designing your business for AI and technology. It's flipped.
Yep.
And if you don't, do not be surprised when you don't realize the benefits. It's about making sure you've got models that work, making sure your data's lined up, and then applying those optimizing influences, AI and the other technologies, to it. Design your business for the tech. Don't design the tech for your business.
Good one to end on. This is our take on the big trends for 26. Listening to this, if you think we've missed something big or got it wrong, then please let us know.
We'll be back next time with episode 8 of series 2.
In the meantime, follow the Angus and Pete show on LinkedIn for news and notifications, and please message us directly to tell us what you want us to talk about, how we're doing, and keep that post bag bulging.
The show is available on all your favourite podcast platforms, so listen, like, subscribe and share. Please help us spread the good word and feed our gigantic egos.
But before we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's Joke of the Week time, Pete.
It is. It is. I've got one. Not everyone's going to like it, but I've got one. So, God, remember him?
Yep.
He decides to do a quick audit of the US presidents. And he strikes up a conversation with George Bush. He says, President Bush, what do you believe in? And Bush answers, I believe in the free market and a strong American nation. And God says, very well. When the time comes, you will sit at my right hand. And then he goes to Barack Obama and he says, Obama, what do you believe in? And Obama says, I believe in the power of democracy and equal rights for all. And God says, good. When the time is right, you shall sit at my left hand. And finally, God gets round to Trump. And he says, what do you believe in? Trump says, I believe you're sitting in my chair. Cheers, Angus.
Cheers, Pete.
Thanks for tuning in to the Angus and Pete Show. Remember, it's based on the personal views and opinions of the hosts and their guests. If you're feeling aggrieved or litigious, take a chill pill. There's already enough stress in the world. Don't forget to follow our page on LinkedIn and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform for more episodes. We'll see you next time.